Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast. I'm Catherine Tindall with Dominion. We're a specialty tax and accounting firm for advisors. And on today's episode, I have with me a very special guest, Kristin Harad. She is a seasoned marketing and business coach helping RIA leaders build their version 2.0 with clarity, confidence, and fulfillment. So that's going to be a lot of our conversation today. She is the founder of Full Advisor Coaching and the host of the Full Advisor Coaching podcast. She lives in San Francisco, where she and her husband are preparing to be empty nesters. I hope that's preparation's going well.
It's getting there. Yes, we have one in college and one kid in junior high school. So we're going to tackle the college admissions process again. So
again, good luck.
Yes,
it's a challenge.
It is. But it works out. It just is a little bumpy in between. So I think anyone who's gone through it totally gets it. So
Yep. Very great. So I know a lot of people, who listen to this, the target audience that we have and the people who I hear back from are, growing and scaling their practices. Quite a few people in the RIA side, where maybe they start off solo, or they might be like kind of nested under somebody else's platform, but then they decide they want to go independent and build a team under them. In terms of like the system that you've developed for deciding how to grow out the different parts of the firm, I'd love to just dive in with kind of where do you usually start with a firm that's approaching, I would joke it's like kind of the Franken firm, where it's like they've built things kind of as they go, and then they get to the point where, okay, we need to really have a plan here. So where do you usually have people start?
Well, I like to, let me just first say thank you for having me on the podcast, Catherine. It's great to be here.
Course.
And definitely I work with the full range of advisors who are trying to grow and scale, whether, like you said, they, have stepped in more into the CEO role as they built the team under them, whether they've come from a wirehouse or a corporate RIA or started their own firm from scratch. So we definitely get to a point where it makes sense to kind of take a step back and do a firm level view of what I call the business development ecosystem, because every advisor or RIA leader or firm leader who comes to me is like, okay, we want to grow, but we don't know what to prioritize.
Yeah.
And, that's a big issue all the time. It's like, I don't know, there's a million things we could do. How do we prioritize? What do we do? Plus, we have to deliver a good client experience. Plus, we know we have people we haven't followed up with, and we still have to get our name out in the world. So we take a step back and look at this business development ecosystem. And what we're going to do is today I'll show you or talk you through how to map your system or how to start breaking it down so you can figure out what to prioritize, whether it's one advisor who's out there doing business development or 10 advisors doing business development. It's really trying to get everyone on the same page and helping the firm prioritize resources, whether it's time, money, energy, interest. There's a lot going on there. So kind of taking the high level view, and for everyone listening in or even watching, we will have the handout of these in the show notes. So if you happen to be listening and able to access those, you can follow along. Otherwise, we do have that available for download, so you'll be able to get the system and the worksheet. So the concept is that we really want to look at business development across the customer journey. So we're really mapping your business development efforts across the way that a person would interact with your firm. So as we know, first they have to find out about you. So we start first with looking at the marketing, the traditional things you would think about that you have to do to get out in the world, to create awareness and generate interest. And the goal of those things, such as workshops or a podcast or a blog or content or webinars or networking or COIs, whatever it might be. These are the initiatives that you're doing to try to generate new leads that you can bring into your system. Then kind of that second part is the sales part. So this is where marketing kind of meets sales. And a lot of advisors go, okay, we've got the marketing, we've got the sales. And sales is where we're qualifying those leads. we're turning leads into prospects, we're meeting with them, we're sharing about our service, what do we offer, we're trying to get them to engage in some way with us and move through the process, right? Because ultimately then we get into service delivery and client experience. What's it like to have them be a client? So we can onboard a client. What does that experience look like? What can they expect? How do we deepen the relationship? What do we do in terms of trying to generate new referrals? All of these parts of the system, from marketing to sales to client experience, as we overlay them on the customer journey, give the advisor opportunities for business development. Just one more thing at the high level, when we're thinking about this, everyone always thinks we need to get more leads in the door to be able to increase our revenue and grow. And that's definitely a way to do it. But there's also, how else can we move people through the funnel faster? How can we improve our sales system? How do we improve our conversion to either convert more people or convert people faster? Because that will increase your revenue as well. And then on client experience, you can also focus there and say, hey, if we spend more time delivering an outstanding client experience, we'll either get more share of wallet from our existing people, or they will refer more business to us. So there are many parts in this whole system that could reveal a place to say, let's focus our efforts here and prioritize these initiatives for this particular year. So it depends on your resources, how many people you have, and what you're available to do. But the way that I look to say, okay, well, how do we know which of these areas we need to improve? That's where we start to get into the mapping. And so I have a worksheet in here for your advisors to take a look at. And
let me add it so that they can see it as you're talking through it.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a visual of the ecosystem. So if you're looking at the handout, it's a circle. It's got green and blue and orange, and then we have the next sheet is a worksheet. And then what we do with this worksheet, and it's been really fun to do. I've done this in live events, and we work through it together. Is we take each part of that system. So we'll start with, for example, brand awareness. So you'll fill in, you go, okay, we're going to create awareness and generate interest. So what are we doing on the marketing front to do that? And you'll write that down at the top in the stage. It'll say stage, and you'll say, okay, what are all the things we're doing today? And I put a live example in. I think it's a little easier to follow along. But we want to evaluate these initiatives across four factors. So there are 4 criteria that we're evaluating. So you're going to write down and go, okay, what are we doing today to create awareness? Maybe you're using a service like Smart Asset, who is, sending leads your way. Maybe you're focused on, you're on the fee-only network and you have a directory listing on their platform, or you have a directory listing on Wealth Tender or XYPN or one of the associations. Maybe you're producing and sharing canned content that you got from your website provider. And then maybe you're doing some outreach on LinkedIn. And then maybe you're reaching out to, like, say, have a lunch with a CPA, such as yourself, an estate planner, as part of your strategy to try to create awareness. So I want advisors to work through what are the things they're doing today. And then we're going to evaluate each of them on a very simple scale. Like, I don't want it to be overly complicated. So we're going to look at, what's the value of the effort that you're doing? Is it rendering $1 sign, $2 signs, or $3 signs? Is it low, medium, or high? So maybe if you're doing Smart Asset leads, you're like, you know what? I'm not really, somehow they never get back to me, or I reach out, or they're not quite the fit that I want. So maybe that's a $1 sign. But maybe a COI outreach, where you've met like a really strong accountant or attorney and they refer business directly to you, maybe that's a $3 sign. So you're like, excellent. And so you've kind of ranked them relative to each other. The next one is, what is the level of investment that it takes for you, whether it's time or money, or energy, output, to make these things happen. So you're looking at, let's say, the directory listings. Well, that's really just $1. It's like, again, low, medium, and high. You're saying, that takes nothing. I set it up. It's there. Set it, forget it. Maybe on the canned content, it's like medium, because you have to pay for that. And then someone has to post it on the site, but it's kind of mid-range, doesn't take a ton of time, but it takes some. So we're essentially kind of just working through the aspects, and it can seem tedious, but after we get through it, you'll see kind of what we can do from here in terms of prioritization. Right now, we're just trying to get a snapshot. I'm thinking it's almost like a little balance sheet, like just a quick snapshot. It just put it in terms you're working with, it's like, all right, let's see where we are today. Speed to implement. That's the next one. And so, some things are just like really easy and quick to do. So we'll, smart asset leads, speed to implement. That's a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the fastest. You just have to pay them money and they will send you leads. So that's fast, right? COI outreach, that's more like a 2. You have to have the network. You have to look at them. You have to follow up. You have to schedule time. It could take a while. You got to find people who are in line with you, and that could be a while. So we want to look at that. And then finally, I think this is one of the more important aspects, is what's your interest or energy level in this initiative, with 1 being a low and 5 being a high. Because the truth is, a lot of advisors really go, oh, that's what I should do. And so they do it. And then they may or may not really have their heart in it, which is going to show up. But it's kind of a balance of looking at, like, what should you do versus what will resonate with your audience. But if you're not into it, it's not gonna work. So maybe let's see, LinkedIn connections. Maybe you're really excited about that. And you're like, what? I actually really enjoy reaching out and meeting people on LinkedIn. So you might rate that a 4, but a smart asset lead, you might be like, that's a 1. I really just don't enjoy this and chasing people down. So, so that's kind of giving you a snapshot of this one section. And you can do this exercise for your sales funnel, for your prospect meetings. You can do it for your onboarding segment. You can do it for each part of the system. And I recommend that you do. I know we're not going to go through each one today, but you can take this sheet and say, okay, now I'm going to look at, how do we qualify a lead? What do we need to do there? And how does that, what are we doing? And then what are these criteria and how do they overlay? But this is kind of part 1, but part 2 is looking ahead to say, what is it we'd like to add in the next 3 years? Because a lot of advisors are thinking about growth and they're like, I don't know, what should we do? And they're like, I'd really love to write a book or speak at a conference or something like that. So I'd like to have the second set of this evaluation, this 1-page worksheet, have what it is you'd like to be adding into the mix, because that'll play into your planning and prioritization. So one might be like hosting a podcast. I have advisors come to me all the time saying, I really want to do a podcast. So in theory, then we apply the same criteria. What's the value of that effort? It could be 3, very high if done well and regularly. What's the level of investment? Also high, because there's time, there's money, there's production, there's lining up guests, there's all the things that you need to do, as you and I both know. That it's not something you just do half-heartedly, right?
Just a slight interruption in this conversation. I wanted to bring to your attention 2 things that are important for you to know. So we're always at the mercy of social media algorithms. So if you can subscribe to the show, that would mean a lot to me. Even more to me if you can leave a rating and let me know what you think about it. But we have a new newsletter that's coming out. It's going to be very active in 2025. That is specifically around tax issues that I'm seeing advisors face in their own practices, changes in legislations, and the pieces that I think are critically important for you to stay ahead of as an advisor with the new administration. So nearby, wherever you're interacting with this, will be the link of how to sign up for our newsletter. Also nearby will be the link to my LinkedIn, which is the best way to get in touch with me, learn more about what we're doing for advisors in the tax strategy and compliance work that we do, and also to get access to the various tools and interviews and things that I do, specifically designed to help you improve your practice, improve your own tax situation, etc. So let's get back to the episode, and thanks for tuning in.
Speed to implement. You can implement pretty quickly. I put a 4 on this, and the reason I did for this one is because you could hire a provider and get all set. And
get it done in a week.
Yeah, you can get it done really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then if your interest or energy level is really high, you put that there. And obviously, if it's things you want to add in, it's probably a 5, right? Because you're like thinking about it and it's on your mind. So whatever that might be, we want to take a look at these things and say, okay, here's the lay of the land for things in the awareness category for generating new leads and new interest in the business. Mm-hmm. And then as we go through the ecosystem, like I said, you do the same thing on your client experience. What are you doing today? What does that look like? What would you like to add in? Do you want to have more client events? Do you want to host workshops? Do you want to add in new services for your clients to expand what you're doing? Are you thinking about adding in taxes or adding in an estate planner on the team, whatever it might be, to improve the client experience? So we can work through that. And then after we have these worksheets complete and this mapping done, where you're not evaluating, you're not making decisions yet, you're simply getting the data to be able to then review it. And then as many planners love doing or advisors love doing, it's looking at the data and saying, what can we do? What makes sense? So then we want to look at what is the criteria for prioritizing these things. And so if we kind of flip to the next slide, you'll see, for those of you listening, essentially, I have 3 criteria that I help advisors use to decide how to prioritize. So you're looking across all of these efforts. And usually as you've worked through the worksheets, and if you have multiple people on the team doing it, it starts to reveal where some things you can easily see, wow, we shouldn't be doing that at all. I'm not sure why we've been investing in that. It's low value, high level investment. It's slow and I don't like it. They're like those things. You're like, well, that's something where you go, all right, let's take a really hard look at why we keep doing that. But on the flip side, some things you might look and go, wow, that could be a really quick win. Like maybe you've failed to complete your online, your Google business profile, and you've never set that up. And you're like, oh, that's simple. It won't take long. And it could have a medium to high impact on my business. I'll take care of that. So we want to prioritize kind of based on quick wins. And then looking at the things that could have the biggest impact. So you're looking and saying, which ones are the highest value for the effort put in? And some of those you already know because you're like, this is how my business is growing. And then some of those are probably going to come from the list of things you want to implement in the next 3 years, because likely if you haven't seen the impact yet, you're going to be looking ahead and saying, hey, I think there's something new we want to do here. So I think we take a look, because what I find is advisors try to do too many things and not well, versus picking, 1 to 3 things that we're really focused on. So which thing can have the biggest impact? And then finally, I like to, again, look at what's most energizing, right? What are you excited about? What are you interested in? Are you really interested in speaking on stage? Well, then figure out where your audience is, what that looks like, and how you can start to add that into the mix. So these are the criteria I like to use to help advisors take a look. And then what we do is we kind of say, okay, these are, the three, it depends on how big the team is, but for any single person, we wouldn't want them doing more than 3 things across a year, if we can help it, in terms of prioritization of really focusing energy. And one of them may be from the sort of marketing or brand building arena. One might be from the sales funnel, like how is it that we're improving the first and second meeting experience. And one of them might be from the client experience arena. So you can look across the system to determine how you as a firm are going to prioritize your work.
Yeah, that's great. I love that because, I think something that people can get pushed into too is like over analyzing. But the
Yes.
checklist system that you've got, it's like it's a $1 to $4
Yeah.
sign. Just
I don't
pick
want
one.
numbers. I want like temperature
Just
read, right? Like
right. It's
quick, because I'll do
yeah.
this effort in a work. We'll do this in a workshop, and I'll be like, do not spend what does your gut say? What is the first thing, And
Yeah.
then as you prioritize, you can start to dig in a little more on those top 3 or 4 if you're really
hmm
wavering
I
between
love
2.
that.
So
hmm
yeah, I think that's a key point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's great because it's the death by. All right, well, let's run a special P&L for this, and let's try to figure. It's like often
Right.
it's overkill, but I love
Yeah.
this. Just kind of going back to the first slide when it comes to just the
Visuals.
different like facets that you look at here. It's taking that example. So for people listening, like Kristin said, that we'll have the links to how to get access to this, and either through her download link or some other way. And but just that doing this exercise across the whole system and then being able to see
Right.
what's actually the most impactful. Have you found that there's certain bottlenecks that everybody hits that
Absolutely. Yes.
that
Yes, yes, yes.
like quick winnable? What's been your experience with that?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest ones is that advisors fail to have a way for a new lead to introduce themselves without having to schedule a consultation yet, because a lot
Mm,
of people who might hear about you or listen to your podcast or see an article that you've written or see an ad you've run or attended a workshop or whatever it might be are not yet ready to sign up and come in for a consultation, but they would be happy to be on your list, right? They'd be happy to kind of be nurtured and warmed up over time. So I
mhm.
always encourage, I know everyone on their websites like schedule a call, book your first call, schedule a free consultation, which you absolutely want to have and make it really easy for a prospective person to be able to book time with an advisor. But how else can they get to know you without it being such a hurdle? What can they sign up for with a name and email address that's valuable? Is it a checklist, a download, a free guide, a video series, whatever it might be,
Mhm.
so that the prospective client can get to know you and evaluate you. And again, they may not have yet had that trigger event that makes them ready to jump into a relationship, but they may be starting to think about it. They may be wanting to do some research and getting to know people. So make sure you have that piece that allows for the capture. And
Yeah.
then I think another big piece is having proper communication in place across the whole system, but specifically within that sales arena, that sales element of following up. Like you have
Mhm.
a prospect meeting number 1, uh, and you haven't, and you haven't heard back from them. Are you following up? Do you have a system in place to follow up regularly with communications? What does that process look like? How do you handle it if you don't hear from someone within a certain period of time? What is the next step if they do get back in touch with you? What does that experience look like? And how do we keep the momentum going forward to get those prospects through the process faster and delighted and confident to go into the onboarding experience?
Yeah,
So
that's great.
these are all area. I mean, I could break down a whole bunch of different areas where improvements could be made, but I mean, those are kind of two of the biggest ones that I see. The advisors getting tripped up about.
Yeah, and I guess on the flip side of the quicker fixes, what are some areas that you see advisors really struggle in that are not easy fixes?
I think at the high level, it's messaging and making sure that you're conveying what it is you do, for whom, like what are the pain points you're solving, how do
Hmm.
you show that you understand what they're up against, and
Hmm.
that you are a potential solution for them and that you understand. So a lot of times messaging is about what are the service, like we do retirement planning, we do tax planning, we do estate planning, and it's not about solving the consumer problem,
Yeah.
like, so what is it that they're worried about? Are they worried they're going to run out of money? Are they worried their kids won't be okay?
Hmm.
What is it that are they afraid they're going to have to work 10 years longer than they want to? Like, what is it that they're really stressed about? That's
Hmm.
what you want to convey in your messaging overall. So it's hard to land messaging and get it at the right level. And then aside from that, it's, as you and I probably both know, content marketing is not a quick win, and it's not an easy lift. It
Yeah.
requires prioritization, it requires planning, and it requires knowing your audience and being able to bring out content in whatever form that you want to do, whether it's written, spoken, video, any of the ways that you can communicate. It's really important. It can be really challenging to do it consistently over time. So you often
Hmm.
need help in there. And then I see advisors not necessarily wanting to fully commit on that front because it takes a while to see results. But
Hmm.
once they have it in place and they see results, they're like, okay, I see it. But it takes
Yeah.
a bit of a leap of faith on that front.
Yeah, it really does. No,
I know.
that's very true.
And I don't
But
think, I mean, take it for, I'm sure you felt the same way, Catherine, is, I see it too sometimes. I'm like, well, what am I doing all this content for? And then you have someone go, wow, your content's fantastic. Or I read that article that you wrote, and you're like, oh, wow. Okay. That was a while back. Oh,
yeah.
and then you're like, that's why. And when you go, oh, I remember I wrote an article on this, and you pull it up, or you said, there's a podcast episode related to that. Let me send you that.
Hmm.
It's makes it all feel really good, and
Oh yeah.
renders results, which is what we're all looking for.
Yeah, and I think at least, on the content side of things, just an observation I've had is it completely changes the sales conversations because instead of having I don't like having to talk about myself a whole lot when
Uh-huh.
I'm one-on-one with somebody. It's like if we've got some precious calendar time, like I already know about me.
Right.
So why don't we talk about you? And I think especially for advisors, when you're kind of in a doctor's position to
Mm-hmm,
your
mm-hmm.
clients, where it's the things that they need to do, where they've got misconceptions about things. You're the one that's going to help guide them to the right solutions for them, and they need to be in a position where they feel comfortable to hand over a certain level of control to you. And
Right.
what I've found with a lot of the content pieces is that just sharing real situation, not sharing like people's names and stuff, but sharing like real situations and just this is how I like to think about this, or this is a situation I saw, and here are some things that I would consider in, this kind of a
Right.
situation is really powerful. It's really powerful for people. And the number of times somebody will come back to me about a tax thing and say, hey, I watched your whatever about this, or I'm in this specific situation and this really spoke to me.
Right.
It's great, because for them, they have that level of comfort with me. And then at the same time, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I know that they're in the right headspace, that they've at least seen this, that they're aware of the position that I'm going to come from, with giving advice and giving answers to them. So I feel like I'm a big fan of content marketing, but
Oh, yes, I am
it's
too.
what you have a
And
passion in.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, client stories or any kind of story where you can apply that, I mean, resonates really
Mhm.
well. And I think I did a podcast on this a while back. But it was on, how marketing actually, doing content marketing and things like actually makes sales a whole lot easier, because if people are, to your point, reading articles, hearing your podcasts, watching your videos, whatever it might be, they come in and they feel like they already know you, even if you've
Yes.
never met them.
Yep.
And they also have a good appreciation of your point of view, the problems you solve, which is why it's so important, if you are using any kind of canned content, to make sure you have done some hyper tailoring of that content. And I'm not a big fan. I see a place for some of it, but I think
Yeah.
your authentic voice and the firm voice, it's really important to get that out in the world. And there are tools to help you and resources to help you with that. But I do think that, the more people can learn about you before they ever show up at a consultation, the easier your work will be to bring them right through, because they make up their mind ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, the fact of, if they don't like the content and they don't like what you're doing because they
Right.
don't align with you, they're not wasting time on your calendar from somebody that does. That's what I
100%.
found.
Yes,
But
I
so
agree.
for people that are trying to get in, want to get into your world and learn more about what you're doing, what are the best places for advisors to find more about the work that you're doing, Kristin?
The best place is to go to my website at fulladvisorcoaching.com. And there's a blog, podcast, service overview, all of those things. If you want to have a conversation, you can just hit the request a call button and pick a time on my calendar. I also spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and post and share there and interact. So if we're not yet connected on LinkedIn, please feel free to reach out or message me and connect, and you can follow along there.
Nice, great. Well, for those of you who enjoyed this episode, we'll post the links to how to get access to that, the PDF download for the checklists, and where to Kristin's website and LinkedIn, etc. But thank you so much for being on the show. Any final thoughts or things you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think one of the biggest things is find the effort that you're going to be really excited and interested in, because that will power you through when motivation is low and you're like, okay, I'm going to keep going, because this is something that I'm pretty psyched about, and I know that my audience will resonate with them.
Yeah, I love that, because if you find what things you love doing for their own sake, you're going to be outcomes agnostic. So
Yeah.
it lets you
That's
deal
a
with
good
the
way to
pain,
think about it. Yeah.
you know.
I mean, we have to ultimately, you have to
You
do
want
things that
outcomes,
work,
yeah,
but try to
yeah.
find the things, with this worksheet, you can take a look and go, which things will likely have a good, a high value outcome, and find the high value and high interest, and you should be in a good spot.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much
Right.
for being on the
Yeah.
show. I
Thanks for
appreciate you
having me,
joining us.
Catherine. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, so for those of you listening, like I said, links will be nearby. And this was another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast.